So we were so excited about opening up. Then the nightmare happened.
Dasha Burns is joining us now from Chicago. And Dasha, what a setback for those business owners after being closed for so long because of the coronavirus. What else did Jackie tell you about what they're dealing with?
Yeah, Allison, I mean, if you look around me, Chicago is reopening today, but a lot of businesses still look like this. They are boarded up. Many of them are not open. And this was supposed to be a day that business owners were really excited about, to finally open their doors after all this time. Certainly that was the case for Jackie. Jackie owns Kilwin's Confections. It's a candy shop with her daughter. And they were set to open today. They couldn't wait to get people back into their store. They came in to prepare for reopening over the weekend, and instead they faced some scary stuff, Allison. I think we can show you some images, pull up some of those pictures of what happened. They sent that to us. They were vandalized, they were looted, their windows were broken, and Jackie and her daughter Janelle were left to defend their store by themselves throughout the night. And now, you know, this was supposed to be a great day for them. Instead, their windows are boarded up. When we met them this morning, they were putting up a sign that said Black-owned business on that storefront. Take a listen to some of what Jackie and Janelle told me today.
The entire night was a disaster. When we got here, we were greeted about 6 police officers was inside the store. But unfortunately, because of all of the looting, they had to leave. So we were stuck here. We didn't plan to be stuck here from 1 o'clock in the morning to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We even called the police and said, hey, we're here by ourselves. You know, there's been at least 30 people that has come to the window. We pleaded with them. We gave them chocolates. That was the most intimidating experience of my life.
You have to handle it alone here.
Just me and my daughter. No police. They were all gone. If I had to do it all over again, never would I have put my life at risk or my daughter's.
The people who are marching right now and protesting and wanting better for the country and for minorities and our people, they would have not wanted Black-owned businesses, family-owned business, small businesses, any hard-working citizens to have to deal with this.
And Allison, they said they hope to reopen as soon as possible. They want to bring some of that joy back into the community, and they hope to be able to do that just as soon as they repair those windows.
Join the community. They have the sky.
Oh, Dasha. And we are hoping that for them as well. Dasha Burns in Chicago, thank you so much.
Thanks, Allison.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.